Hey guys, it's Marina with Artworthy Life, where I teach Christ-centered art journaling that gets you into God's Word every day. Happy Friday, everybody. It's been a while. I think we missed 2 Fridays just because of the holidays and because we were moving. So now you'll notice my background is a little different. I don't have my studio like I used to. I now have a teeny studio in our tiny living situation, which is our travel trailer for the time being. And so we are having fun experimenting with that. But that means that I wasn't available for the last week. So I am now set up again. So I just want to remind you guys that I do have art journaling every Friday at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time, 12:30 p.m. Central, and 1:30 p.m. Eastern time right here at Artworthy Life. So I hope you'll join me. And what we like to do is art journaling from start to finish. We do one full art journal page. But I always like to start off on the right foot, which is with scripture, because you can't get better than that when you're starting off your day. So we're in the Christmas season or Advent season. We've been working on Advent calendars, and you guys have all been doing such a great job with those. If you don't know about my DIY Advent calendar, send me a message. I have an ebook that goes along with it, and there's lots of beautiful little doodles that you can do throughout the month of December, either just as a fun activity or to make Christmas cards, whatever you like. Hi, Valerie. So glad to see you on. Let me know if everything's clear. Oh, I have an echo. That's good to know. Let's see. What am I missing? Something might be not muted here. How about now? Is it better? Tell me if I have an echo anymore. You got to see my messy paint back here. Okay, so do I need to repeat anything else I said? You can tell I haven't done it in 2 weeks. I'm a little behind. Oh, Valerie says better. Yay! I'm so glad. Okay, if you missed that, just read this banner right here that I have art journaling every Friday. And we're going to go ahead and read some scripture to get us started on the right foot. So we've been in the Advent season and leading into Christmas. So I want to read some Christmas scriptures for us. And this actually happened after Jesus was born, but I want to read it because it describes who Jesus is. I think it's a really beautiful passage. What it is it's after Jesus was born, when his parents brought him to be basically dedicated and also circumcised, and they brought him to the temple in Jerusalem. And when they were in Jerusalem, there was a man named Simeon. So I'm going to start reading in verse 29. So this is Luke chapter 2, verse 28, actually. Let me just make sure. Yeah. So I'm going to start in 27 so you know what's happening. But there's this really cool passage that talks about who Jesus is and why he's here. And I think it's really cool that this person named Simeon didn't know them from Adam. Anyway, he didn't know them necessarily. And he just sees this child and he knows immediately, recognizes who he is. So verse 27, and he came by the Spirit into the temple. And when the parents brought in the child, Jesus, to do for him after the custom of the law, then he took him up in his arms and blessed God and said, Lord, now lettest thou thy servant depart in peace according to thy word. For mine eyes have seen thy salvation, which thou hast prepared before the face of all people, a light to lighten the Gentiles and the glory of thy people Israel. And Joseph and his mother marveled at those things which were spoken of him. And Simeon blessed them and said unto Mary his mother, Behold, this child is set for the fall and rising again of many in Israel, and for a sign which shall be spoken against. Yea, a sword shall pierce through thy own soul also, that the thoughts of many hearts may be revealed. It's really cool to read what people said about Jesus when he was still a baby. Like, it was before they even really knew all the wondrous works that he was going to do as well. So I think that's just amazing. I love that verse so much. Alrighty, we're gonna go ahead and get started. So I was given this really sweet little Christmas ornament. We had a cool, a really quickie Christmas party right before we moved out of our house, and it was actually it was in February. Oh my goodness. It was in November. We had a Christmas party in November before Thanksgiving, before we even got to Thanksgiving, because we knew we weren't going to have a house to host a party. We're still hosting a party at our church, but it's more low-key and it's not as much as we would normally do. So what we did was we did a Christmas ornament swap. And this is the little ornament I got, and I just love it. I think it's just darling. It almost looks like birchwood here, and it has like a little snow globe and a little Christmas tree inside, and it's very sweet. So what I thought I would do is an art journal based on this ornament, and I've seen a couple other artists online who are doing some journal pages based on their Christmas ornaments. So I just think that's a great idea. But I also saw this, and it immediately reminded me of a couple of different paintings I'd seen in other mediums, and I think it would make a great watercolor painting to do this. So this is my inspiration. Isn't it beautiful? And anyway, so if you have a snow globe or something that you want to use as inspiration, maybe set it out and use it for some art journaling. So happy Friday, Daniel. Twyla's here. Hi, Twyla. Hello, everyone, she says. Okay, and tell me, for those of you that are just joining, if the echo is gone and everything sounds okay. So first off, I'm going to draw a circle, and I don't have very many things in our little travel trailer. So this is a nice size of circle for me. Actually, one of my art journal members gave this to me as a Christmas present, and it was hand painted. Her name is Jackie, and she's a wonderful artist. So she hand painted this, so I just have to show it off for a little tiny bit. And then she also, she must know me well, because she said this plant hardly has to be watered at all. So it's not going to die. Yay. Anyway, so isn't that beautiful? She did a great job. She painted the whole thing, and then she also painted the flower. I just think that's beautiful. So I'm going to use this as my outline for my little journal. I know that's weird, but they're, like I said, we don't have very many things here in the trailer. Hi, Miss Leslie, too. I'm so glad you're watching. Okay, so I'm going to get my pencil out, and I'm going to do a little outline for a circle part of the globe. Whoops, I can find a pencil. I'm still getting organized here. I don't think I'm there yet, but I'm getting there. All right, I'm just going to trace this out around this little pot, and I just centered it up on the page, but I don't even think I did that perfectly. So there's my little circle outline. Valerie says, yes, one of those no-kill plants. Do you have one of those? I forget what they're called. If Jackie gets on here, I'll have to ask her what they're called. There was like 2 different names, and one of them sounds strange. I think Leslie Ann knows what they're called too. Valerie, if you know what they're called, tell me. It's a really pretty plant, but I don't think it's going to die, and that's great. That's the best thing for me. Okay, so what we're going to do is on the bottom of this, so if you'll notice, when you see the circle on the globe, you can't quite see the bottom. So on the bottom of this, I'm just going to do a little curved line to kind of cut off the bottom of it, and then a little stand for it. Just a little stand. Let's see, how wide is it? Might be able to go a little wider than, I think I'm going to go wider and then like angle it out. So I'm going to use that thing as inspiration, but it's not going to be like a total rule. Maybe just like this. And I'm curving the bottom of it a little bit so that it's kind of kicks out a little bit. Like that angle. Okay. Normally I wouldn't do my sketches on my watercolor paper because I'm kind of finicky about that. It leaves little lines. But with art journaling, a lot of times you're doing stuff quickly, and it's better to just get it done, right, than to get it perfect. Okay, so there's our little outline, and there's our little stand that it's going to sit on. Little snow globe. Okay. So now I'm going to get my watercolors out. These watercolors that I use, if you're not familiar with this page, is by Mozart, and I'm not sponsored by this brand at all. I just use them a ton because they're great. So this is a Como Rebby watercolor set. Hopefully you guys can see that. I think you can. Yes, Como Rebby. And yeah, I don't know if I'm saying that right either, but they have a great selection of regular colors and then neons and pearlescents, which hopefully we'll get to use some of the pearlescent color today. Valerie says we call them snake plants or mother-in-law tongues. Yes, that's the one that she said wasn't great. The real name is, oh, I don't know if I should even try to pronounce that. Can you spell that phonetically? Sansevieria? I don't know. Yesterday we were talking about how I pronounce poinsettia differently than most people do. And I was talking to a florist. So I don't know if I should attempt to say that. And it says, yay, a no-kill plant. You can spray herbicides on it in your spare time. Oh, dear. Maybe it's not that resilient. Or some such. Yeah, Valerie, maybe you can spell that phonetically so I know that I'm not saying it totally wrong. Alrighty. Let's go ahead and start on the snow globe part. So first off, we want to give it some shape so that it looks like a round ball and not just a clear see-through thingy. So I'm going to use a light gray, and I'm going to use my bigger brush. So I'm going to start with this size 24 round. These are the really simple, not very expensive brushes from Hobby Lobby. And I'm just going to use, one of our art journal members reminded me that Payne's Gray is a great gray to use for shadowing. So I'm going to use that one. And we're just going to do, oops, do I have my extra? Let me grab it. We are in the middle of moving, and I don't know where my watercolor cloth went, so I'm going to get another one soon, but it's packed into my art journal member stuff, so I haven't pulled one out yet. So I'm going to use this sad little paper towel right now. Okay, so I'm going to use Payne's Gray. Payne's Gray has a little bit of a blue tint to it, and it's a really nice color. Let me show you what that looks like. This is what it looks like in the palette. It's like almost not there. But if you add a lot of water to it, it makes a great shadowy color. So for a little snow globe, especially a wintry snow globe, it'll make a great outline. So I'm going to add a bunch of water to this now. I just wanted to get that edge done, but now I'm going to leave a little shine right there. See that shine? And now I'm going to fill the rest in pretty much. Just go all the way around. This is a simple art journal, so we're not going to do as much shading as we might do if this was like a full-on painting. But we're just going to fill that in. And then I try to make my brush strokes, if I'm doing something round like this, I actually try to make my brush strokes go around. Even though this is like a wet page and probably most of the brush strokes aren't going to show, if they do show, the water will be flowing in the right direction. So that's something to think about while you're going around in circles. Okay. This I can kind of smooth out a little. But just leave a little bit of shine on your snow globe, and that just means don't paint certain areas in. And then I'm dropping in a little bit more shading toward the outer edges. So I'm taking a little bit more of that Payne's Gray, and I'm going to just drop in more around the outer edges and create like little shadows around that area. This is a bigger brush than you need to use, but I don't like to switch brushes if I don't have to, so I'm just going to keep going with it. And I like to do, with glass like this, I like to do some little streaky kind of swishes. Swishes is my professional word. My art journal members know I like that word. It doesn't really mean anything, but they know what I mean when I say it. So just do little swishes. Oh, Valerie says Sansevieria. Did I say it right? Sansevieria. Sansevieria. It almost looks like there's another syllable, but I can't tell. Wait, Sansevieria. Okay, tell me if I said that right. I don't know. Where's the emphasis? Is it on the beginning, or is it? I don't know. Okay, I will learn something today. Valerie, you must garden quite a bit. Do you? I forget. Do you have a big garden, or do you just like indoor plants? I don't know. All right, let's let that start to dry. And while it does, we're going to do this little birch texture. Look at this birch. It may not look just like this, but when we're done, it'll look fun. So we're going to start with same brush, but I'm going to use a dusty gray color. Well, not gray, brown. I'm going to start with the burnt umber, actually. This burnt umber. I'm just going to put it right here where I had the other one, because it doesn't matter if they mix together. I'm going to use this for a base coat, just to get some color down on this, but I'm not going to put a ton of it on. Just leave, I'm using my big brush so I can do big sweeping brush strokes right there. And I'm going to shade the edges just a little bit. I'm going to take some brown, some of that burnt umber and black. So it's a little darker. And I'm going to use that to shade the edges so that our snow globe has some shape. You can do a little bit, you don't have to do a lot, and we can leave some white space behind. The bottom of my snow globe is not perfect, so don't look too close. That's okay though. We'll just kind of make it as smooth as we can with our big old brush. And then I'm going to leave it kind of gappy like that and let that dry. That's going to be pretty just like that. Valerie says snake plant. I think that's the best way to pronounce it. That's the easier way to pronounce it for me. This little hat Mom got from Hobby Lobby. So if you have a Hobby Lobby in your area, it has a pom-pom on the back. Ding. I'm not usually good at wearing slouchy hats. Do you guys wear slouchy hats? Those of you that wear hats? I don't know. Does anybody not wear hats? I like them, but I think people with more hair than me do better at wearing them. Okay, so that's going to be the base coat. We'll come back and add some texture to that. But now we're going to do our little snow globe part. And this snow globe has a white tree in it. But I think what I'm going to do is actually do evergreen, an actual evergreen tree. So I'm going to use I'm going to start with which one do I want to use? Okay, I just got these new brushes. Do I have the smaller one here? I do. Okay, I just got these new brushes from Hobby Lobby, and I showed them off to the Art Journal Club members as well. They are fairly reasonable, but they are more expensive than a set, than this Master's Touch set that I got that has all 4 of these. And they are still the Master's Touch brand, but they're the Fine Art Studio brand, so they're a little bit higher end, just a little bit. Am I frozen up, y'all? Am I okay? I feel like my internet is a little spacey. Okay, so this is a size 4 round, and this is a size 20-aught, which is, I think, how we say that. It's a liner brush, and this is a round brush. So these are the ones I'm going to use right now, but they're very nice, and they're smoother than the set that I usually use. So I just wanted to point that out before I start using it. But we're just going to use this for our tree, and I'm going to start with an evergreen color. It's going to be Brilliant Green. I'm going to start with the dark Brilliant Green. We'll add that to the palette. And this Brilliant Green has the best deep green color. Valerie says, you are good. There, you got it. Oh, good. You know, sometimes you just pick the easier route. All right, I'm adding black to this evergreen color because it is so bright. It's like, it is truly brilliant. It's almost an emerald color. So if we add the black to it, it's going to deepen it just a little bit more. And once we've done that, I sometimes will add a little bit of blue. So I'm going to add a little bit of azurite blue just to deepen it up to a cooler blue color. I like my evergreens to be slightly blue. So I'm adding a little bit of that. And so the color I'm ending up with has kind of a bluish, greenish tint to it. Okay. And then you want to keep your color really rich when you're doing trees like this, because you don't really want light to shine through where you have the green. So we're just going to start with that. And to do our little tree, it's super simple. We're just going to do some little dots going down and kind of back and forth motion. If you want to look at your little tree, you can, if you're wanting it to be specific to your little ornament, if you have something you're going off of. But I'm just going to go right, and I need to make sure the globe is dry for sure. And then we're just going to, I do kind of a dotting motion with my hand, kind of like this, and you sort of act like you can't hold your hand straight. That's kind of what you're going for. And then you just bring the branches down in kind of a left and right motion, and you can kind of zigzag it along as you go. And then I just kind of bring the branches out and then let them kind of taper off here and there. And your tree does not have to be perfectly symmetrical. In fact, if it's not, it'll look better. So remember to not make all of your branches perfect. I'm going to get a little bit more paint on my palette so I don't run out. And then just keep going. You can tell I'm just kind of letting the brush have some spaciness to it. Do I have an echo, you guys? Ooh, I think I do. Let me just... remove that for a minute. My audio is sometimes weird. Okay, I think that should be better. Let's see. All right, tell me if I have no weird echoing happening right now. That would be nice. All right, keep going with your little branches all the way down. And what you want to do is make that your branches are all evenly green, like that there's not any branches that are super, super dark or super, super light. There can be a little variation because, of course, shadows might hit in some areas and not in others. But you don't want too much variation because it could end up being like the top of the tree is super dark and the bottom of the tree is super light, or vice versa. Okay, so I'm going to keep coming down with this. And I like to kind of make it look like my branches are sort of drooping a little bit, but that's because I like the trees to look kind of heavy if there's snow and stuff piled up on top of them. Okay, and then of course you want to make your trees get a little bit bigger as you get down toward the bottom. And then your branches can kind of vary in length a little bit. Okay, I'm just going to let the bottom of my tree be a little bit uneven because that globe is going to kind of come up around that tree. And it doesn't have to be necessarily perfect down there. Okay, so now I'm just touching up different areas. Kind of look at your tree and see if it needs some touch up. But I think it's looking pretty good. All right, so I'm going to do a little tiny dark brown trunk right here. So I'm going to take a little bit of my black and a little bit of brown. And just do a little bit of it. I'm just going to do basically little dots down here for a little trunk, not a lot. And I'm just going to kind of space it out like that. So there's my little trunk. And now I'm going to let that dry. So while that's drying, we're going to come back to the stand that it's sitting on. Doesn't that already look so cute? looks like a little snow globe. Okay, I'm going to use a big brush, my big number 24 brush, and I'm just going to get a little bit of brown and black on it, kind of on the side of my brush. And I'm going to use that to sort of scratch along the surface. That one might be too wet. I'm going to use a dry brush. If your brush is still too wet, don't use it. I'm going to use a little drier brush. I'm getting a little bit of brown and a little bit of black while it's kind of dry. And then you're going to kind of scratch it along this surface of this snow globe. And I want to make sure it takes a little bit of patience to get it going because I don't want to put brush strokes down. I want to just do these like little scratchy surfaces, which is what I like to do for a birch texture. So I'm just going to kind of slowly rub it in. You see it's getting a little darker. I'm going to kind of darken up this left side where that brush stroke started. There, I wet it just a little to get it going. Now I'm going to dry my brush off. So I came over here to my paper towel and dried my brush off like that. And now I'm going to kind of scrub that along the edge of the jar, or the edge of the, what do you call that? Like a little stand that it's standing on? So just kind of use a dry brush like that. And then I'm going to come over here and do the same thing. A little bit of texture like that. I'm going to grab a little bit more brown, black down here at the bottom. So I'm kind of starting with a little bit of wet and then drying my brush off and scrubbing that along. I don't really want it to be really strong, just a little bit. Okay. A lot of times I do this on little teeny branches so that it will give it some texture without it looking too much color or heavily shaded or anything. You can just kind of add a little bit of texture to it. Okay, and now I'm just touching my black with my brush and picking up big blobs of black and letting them hit this snow globe randomly. I'm going to use my tiny brush right now and just add a little bit like that. Let's see if my brush is wet enough to do it. So I'm just going to add these little black marks as well. So the bottom of that snow globe has that cool bits of birch and texture. So I'm going to add that in like that. Just little bits. You know how birch trees have those, they almost look like little eyes that have V shapes in the side of the tree, and they're all black like that. Now I'm going to add a little bit of water to do some shading over here. Bring that dry brush over and kind of sweep that across. Okay, so see how that's starting to create those streaky texture? Just needed to add a little bit more black. There we go. Okay, so now at this point I want to quit while I'm ahead, so it's looking pretty good. So I don't want to overdo it. So there's the bottom texture. And now we want to start adding some snow. So you can definitely do a lot more with this. You could add ornaments if you want to. You could add like some little reindeer or Santa in the background, but I want to keep this simple for today. So I'm just going to go get some of my white acrylic paint. And if you know about the art journaling DIY group, you know that I just did a demo on adding white to a page. If you are not sure that it's quite where you want it, or you want to add something different to it, you can add white to your pages with acrylic paint. And that can sometimes save a page that you're not sure about. If you're like, oh, that just is not turning out how I want it. A lot of times, grab some white acrylic paint. You can save a lot of your pages by touching up or adding some layers or using some acrylic paint and just having fun with it. So I used to really know everything has to be all one medium and it has to be exactly the same, but it does not. That's not true. And as long as it's pretty by the time you're done, who cares? And even if it's not super pretty, it doesn't have to be perfect. This is art journaling. It's fun, fun, fun. All right, so I'm going to add some snow. I'm going to do little, well, first I think, let's see, is this dry? Not quite dry yet. So I'm going to do just the snow in the background first, and then as the tree is drying, we will come back to that. So I'm going to use the back end of my brush, which is the non-paint end. Actually, I can use a smaller brush for this. I'm going to use my smaller brush. This is my little teeny art brush, and I'm going to dip it just directly into this white paint. This is Folk Art Home Decor chalk paint. It has a nice matte finish to it, so I like to use it. And I'm just going to do little dots of snow sprinkled throughout the snow globe. I'm going to make them varying sizes, so some are going to be big and some are going to be small. My tree is starting to dry, so I'm going to be able to bring this across in just a minute. So you want to do little teeny dots and bigger dots. Because, of course, if these were real snowflakes or little snow globe bits, some of them would be closer to you and some of them would be further away. So you could do that. And then also, some people have trouble doing random dots. So be careful that none of your, if you want it to look like it's floating around, that you don't end up with like perfect polka dots. And the way to do that is to start by varying the sizes. That helps. And then put a few of them closer together than you really want to. Just kind of like annoy yourself by putting some in weird places and yeah, just kind of having some strange placement of them, and that'll really help them be more random. Okay, my tree is dry, so I'm going to kind of come across with some snow. Just some dots of white snow across here. And I'm putting a lot of these dots like right in the middle of big globs of green because I want them to show. So think about that too. If you put a snowflake where there's just white space, it's not going to show up very well. So just kind of place them where they're actually going to show. And then once you've got that kind of there, we can take our regular brush and make sure you're not using a real good watercolor brush for your acrylic paint, because that can sometimes ruin a great watercolor brush. So I'm using a separate brush for my acrylic paint, and I'm just going to do a little pile of snow down here at the bottom for the tree to sit on. Just kind of pile it up, and I'm not going to take it all the way to the edge because I want there to be those cool swishes in the glass that I did earlier. I want them to still show. I'm just going to kind of do a little hill for the tree to sit on. And then I also want this white to be carried throughout the whole painting. So I'm going to take some of it and use it on this stand as well. And I'm going to dry my brush off a little bit and drag my brush along the edge of this. Kind of scratch it along like I was doing with the watercolor paint as well. You can kind of drag from the side and I can let some big pieces come off of my paintbrush, and then I smooth out some of them as well. Okay. Kind of drawing off the brush as I go and sweeping it along. See how that lightened up that stand quite a bit? Hi, Terry. So good to see you. All right, so now last but not least, I want to add a little bit more color to this page. So I'm going to use my brush that I just got, which is this number 20 Masters Touch Liner brush. And I'm going to use some nice Christmassy red. And to make that, I'm going to use Carmine, number 18 Carmine. And I'm going to add a little bit of crimson to it. That's been my Christmassy red all this whole time we've been doing the Advent calendar. I was going to say all month long, but we did it in November, so so it's been that way. And then when I add the Carmine, it sweetens it up. It makes it more of a cherry red. So that adds a lot of sweet red. Let me make sure I turn this so you guys can see. So here's the color I'm mixing up right here. And I'm going to add a touch of black to it just to deepen it some. Okay. And just a tip, sometimes I mix my colors with a bigger brush. I didn't this time, but I should have. And that really helps keep your color, it allows you to mix up a lot of color without you ruining your little tiny brush. Terry, what are you working on today? You got any projects? I saw your art journal Wednesday challenge page. It looks amazing. Nice job. All righty, so I'm going to take this. And I want to look at that scripture one more time. So a lot of times I like to pull from what I just read rather than just a random thing. So this verse says, "My eyes have seen thy salvation." Ooh, a light to lighten the Gentiles. Some of these are really pretty phrases. I think I like, "Mine eyes have seen thy salvation." So I'm going to write "thy salvation" in this crimson color and use my paintbrush to do it. So when you do if you do lettering with a paint like this rather than using a pen, just be careful that you have your paint thick enough that it will not come off watery, but thin enough that it will flow. So that's just kind of a feel thing, but what you can go for is the consistency of ink. So like if you think about ink that's in a fountain pen, obviously that makes sense because you write with a fountain pen. So just kind of go for that. So I'm going to write, ooh, I wonder if I should write it in a capital letter. I'm going to go capital letter. Here's a T. I forgot my disclaimer. This is the part of the show where Marina stops talking, because if Marina talks while she writes, she misspells words on live. So bear with me while I write. All right, that. And if you're wanting this to end up perfect or close to perfect or whatever, which isn't really a thing, but if you want it better, you can pencil it out ahead of time. That's a better idea. But like I said, sometimes we don't have time to because we're sitting down to do an art journal all at once, and we only have 15 or 20 minutes, and you just want to get it done. So that's fine as well. There's my S. Ooh, I like that S. Terry says, working on a snowman and still working on my dog. Your dog looks amazing. She's painting a picture of her dog. Yay! But now I have to do a snow globe. Yes, you do. And when you do, I have to see it. Okay. Not to mention, you have beautiful snow globes you could use as inspiration. Hopefully I will spell this correctly, even though I've been talking. And you notice I'm picking up a little bit of paint as I go, because obviously I'm running out as I paint. Salvation. I'm like, salvation. Oh, good. I got it right. All right. Let's go like this. Maybe we'll swirl it around to make the eye. Ding. All right. Thy salvation. And then I'm going to take my other pen, which is my number. Actually, I'm going to wait to do that, because if I write over the top of it, I'm going to smear my. So I'm going to keep going with the red, and I'm just going to use this to create a little. Oh, this isn't an ornament. I was going to put a bow on it. Maybe I can put a bow on the side. What do you think? A little bow in the center or on the side? I thought about putting a little bow on top, but it's not an ornament. I was totally thinking ornament. What do you guys think? Where could I add some more red? Should I put some ornaments on the tree? That wouldn't quite work because it's dark, but I could do them super dark and then they'd kind of show up. So I could either do that, or I could just paint a little bow kind of off to the side with some ribbon. Or I could do a little banner on top, like a little banner on top. What do you guys think? What should I do? Should I do a little ornaments on the tree to add some red in? So I have this beautiful red down here, but I don't want it to be the only place there's red on the page. So I could either put like a little, I guess I could still put a bow on top, even though it's not an ornament. It might be kind of cute. What do you guys think? You guys should tell me. Okay, I think the lettering is dry enough that I can do because I've talked long enough. I can do the beginning of this verse, and I think I'm just going to start at the word mine instead of for. It's always odd when you start it on for. So mine eyes have seen. Mine eyes have seen. Ooh, my brushes. I have used this pen so much, the tip of it is getting worn out. So that means I got to get another one. I don't know if I'm sad about that. Okay, I'm going to write it. I think I'm going to go, so mine eyes have seen. Maybe I'll use block lettering. Mine. And I know that sounds weird to some of you guys, mine. It should say my eyes, but it's just the King James Version, that's all. Mine eyes. Have you ever heard that song? Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. What's the rest of that song? Anyway, it has the same thing. Twyla says, more words on top, smaller. So mine eyes. So what comes before that one, I wonder? If we could maybe use more of that. He took him up in his arms and blessed God. That's kind of a cool phrase that comes before that. Then took he him up in his arms and blessed God. Oh, that might be a good one. Mine eyes. Did you see how I made my S longer? I like to make the S's longer sometimes. It breaks up the big blocky letters. Mine eyes have seen thy salvation. I think I'm going to do little quotes as well. So there are little tricks that I use to make my pages look balanced, especially if it's lettering and it's off or it's not quite center or whatever. So one of them is I will put exclamation points sometimes. So you can see thy salvation is a little to the left instead of like perfectly centered, which it doesn't have to be perfect. But if I want to balance it out a little more, I can put my quotes a little further out, and then it kind of helps your eyes balance out. Or I can put an exclamation point, or I can put ... Sometimes having ... at the end really helps. So think about that. If you're like, oh, I can't figure this out. Okay. Oh, Terry said all of it. I don't know about all of it. How about I go with, just to keep it simple so that I can let you guys go, what about doing the little bow on top and just pretending it's a snow globe with a bow on top? I think I like that idea. It'll just be a different kind of snow globe, I guess. It'll be kind of cute. All right, I'm going to make a little bow. Plus, it's kind of light up here, so if I need to cross over the blue, it's not going to be hard to see. All right, let's do a little bow. And bows are kind of fun because you can do them kind of like you do lettering. Use the pressure, light pressure, and then heavy pressure to do a little bow. I'm going to flip my thing upside down because it's going to be easier on my hand. All right, I'm just going to do a little bow. Like that. I'm going to put a little loop on this side. And then do some ribbon down the front. Super simple. I hope I don't smudge some of my white paint. I just went right over my acrylic paint just to see if it would do it. Usually doesn't stick, but maybe that little tiny amount is going to be okay. All right, there's my snow globe. I am done. I'm calling it quits. Well, it looks great. Thank you guys so much for joining me on Artworthy Life for our art journaling from start to finish every Friday. I hope you guys will join me next week. We're going to keep doing some Christmassy things, so make sure you join us. This has been a really, really fun one. I can't wait to see yours. If you go ahead and do a snow globe, please post it to your page and tag Artworthy Life so we can see it. I would love to see your finished journal page. In the meantime, God bless you guys. Have a great weekend. Go look at some Christmas lights. I think we're going to. And probably take some Christmas pictures. Yay! Alrighty. Have a blessed day, you guys. And I will see you soon. Bye.